There's no official injury report today because that's just not how it works on a bye week. Nobody has to give injury updates. No team does until you're actually in that week. Well, that practice week begins. This is the NFL for you tomorrow. Well, no, really it begins Wednesday. So we're going to have to deal with the updates that we do have from, just picking things up because the Steelers were reunited today on the South Side. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Double Shot of Steelers presented by FanDuel. There were two positive updates, arguably two negative updates. Positive updates, Joey Porter and Alex Highsmith both expect, to varying degrees, to be able to participate against the Browns this weekend. Whereas Calvin Austin made it sound like it's going to be a while, and Jalen Ramsey wasn't even around. Now, what does that mean for this team right now? Arguably, not all that much. And I say that with respect to the guys that they'd be missing. They still have to perform. They still have to do their thing. They can't be what the rest of the AF North, the rest of the AFC North has become, which is they're beaten down by injuries, but they're also getting beaten on the field. The Steelers have managed to go 3-1 through their own travails. And granted, the Steelers haven't lost quarterbacks and stuff like that, so I'm not necessarily comparing injury to injury. I think the team is in a pretty good spot. They're going to be fresh. They're going to be rested. The guys who have been banged up, the guys who've been playing through being banged up, like a Patrick Queen and so forth, could really benefit from this time. And then they're going to be facing a Cleveland team that's just back from London. So funny how all that stuff works. The things you get worried about for your team end up happening to some other team. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by Chris Halleck, who was over there with the Steelers today.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Hey, Chris Halleck, guess what?
What?
The football bye week is finally over. The AFC North, the remainder of the AFC North teams have finally stopped getting their brains blown out all weekend long. And you know what that means?
I would assume that means it's a pretty good time to place a bet on the Steelers to win the division.
It's time to check out the latest odds, futures, and win totals on the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you think any of the other AFC North teams are headed to the Super Bowl, as Halleck does, lock in your bets today. Whatever your game, FanDuel Sportsbook delivers the latest lines, futures, and specials so that you can join in on all the action. And remember, that action can go in either direction. For example, the Ravens, as we're speaking right now, remain remarkably the odds-on favorite to win the AFC North by season's end. Yeah. They're 1-4. They're gonna lose to the Rams this weekend.
Yeah, most likely.
That's not me making a prediction. That's me watching them yesterday, seeing the state of that team right now, and seeing that the Rams are a very good 3-2.
Yes.
That was a hard loss for LA yesterday to a really good San Francisco team. That's 1-4. What do you think it'll take, Chris, for people to get off of this Ravens are going to win the division thing? I mean, how many losses do they need to pile up?
So I was looking at it, and I actually just wrote about this on our app. So go read it once the show is over. The Ravens schedule when they get back, so that they play the Rams, then they go on their bye. So really good chance they're 1-5 heading into their bye week. Their schedule gets really easy really fast. I mean, you got Miami in there. You've got 2 Bengals games in there. And I'm sorry, the Bengals might be worse than the Ravens. I understand. And the reason why I say that is because the Bengals won't get Joe Burrow back maybe at all this season. And if they do, it's going to be way too late for them. Lamar Jackson is most likely there's a really good shot he comes back by the time they get back from their bye week.
Yes.
And that alone, I mean, when we talk about the most important position in all sports, I mean, when you have a franchise quarterback, the moment you get him back, it almost doesn't matter what's going on with the rest of the team. Sure, it matters when you don't have Roquan Smith and Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hamilton and all those guys, but all they need to do is pretty much just get Lamar back, because let me just give you a couple of those games really quick. Here, I'll actually find it for you really quick, and then I'll get back to you, but it gets really easy really quick.
Oh, for the Ravens?
Yes.
Yeah, their schedule gets a lot lighter, and they can go on some kind of run. But I don't care if you go on a run after you're 1-5.
Well, I know. Yeah,
I wonder if, not that we're doing double shot of Ravens here. I swear we'll get back to this subject at hand.
Well, it's still related though.
It just feels, not okay. If I'm the Ravens, and I'm not playing Lamar's doctor or whatever here, but that game that you're playing against the Rams, I'm sorry, that's a must. I'm not saying, hey, go ahead and take that extra time, like what the Steelers did with Jaylen Warren and Joey Porter. Yeah. Take that extra time through Dublin and the bye and come back at us 100%. No.
Yeah.
If he's even, 50, 60%? Now, granted, if Lamar being 50, 60% is still pretty good, but it's also still putting him into a position where he might be more one-dimensional than he's accustomed to being. You know what I mean?
I think that's the unfortunate line. I would not want to be John Harbaugh this week, because the last thing you want to do, would you rather play the Rams and most likely lose, but preserve Lamar Jackson, where you're pretty much getting Lamar at 90% by the time you get back from your bye, so that, you might be 1-5, but then you've got, and I finally have it pulled up here, you've got the Bears at home when you come back from your bye. All right, that's pretty good. Then you've got a 3-game road trip. Okay. And the Vikings are in that. Okay, so that's not easy, but that's sandwiched between 2 games, Miami and Cleveland. You have the Bengals in there. I mean, they could go on a run. By the time they actually face the Steelers in early December, they might have only lost another game by then. You could really realistically, meanwhile, the Steelers have to play the Packers. They have to play the Colts.
Lions.
Their schedule gets pretty tough in November and December. So this is why you don't get too far ahead, because... But 1-5 is a really hard hole to get out of.
We've seen the Steelers do it and try it, and then they come close, and then they get to that last game where they're all sitting on their helmets out in the grass, watching up on a scoreboard, waiting for somebody else to come through. There's a reason for that. The math is not in your favor. The simple, cold, hard math is not in your favor when you're 1-4. And when you're 1-5, you can start looking through the history books.
Yeah.
Even with an expanded playoff field, you're not going to find much that can be overcome there. But there's also something else. I swear, double shot of Ravens is going to end in a moment here. Did you see Derrick Henry yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, when it comes for everybody.
Well, it's easy. I'll put it this way. Well, first off, the first thing I thought about Derrick Henry whenever the Ravens initially signed him was I didn't think it was all that much, because I thought Henry was on the way down. But I didn't think, stupidly, didn't factor in that, oh, by the way, Lamar Jackson being probably, arguably, maybe outside of Michael Vick being the greatest running quarterback of all time, how that would impact Derrick Henry. And it obviously did, because defenses have to prepare for both. But when you see what the Ravens look like with Derrick Henry in the backfield when Lamar Jackson's not at quarterback, then they could tee off. They can load the box and say, all right, we'll make Cooper Rush beat us.
Which is what the Steelers had hoped to do in that playoff game with that ill-fated strategy of theirs. There's no doubt that's what they had in mind. And there's also no doubt that it did not work. at all. Let's take some of the questions today. We're going to have a little bit of an abbreviated episode today. I got to drive up with our hockey writer, Taylor Haas, to cover the Penguins season opener tomorrow in New York against the Rangers. That'll be tomorrow night. That's at 8 p.m. national TV and at. Chad says, DK, please tell me the Steelers will support Broderick Jones against Myles Garrett with Darnell Washington. I mean, I don't know that it has to do with Myles as much as it would that they just did this thing and it worked in general. And more than that, I don't want to turn Darnell into this is just me, into a talking piece like he's a gimmick. Darnell went out there and played a very, very good game as an NFL tight end. He made catches. He ran routes. He was responsible. He did his blocking. He did his chipping. He did everything. He earned all of those snaps that he got. He was 58 out of, I think he was all 5 snaps in the game. I mean, he was just the offense. That wasn't a gimmick, Chad. He was out there and he was earning it.
Darnell Washington, 48 snaps.
48 out of 50.
Yeah, 91%.
53. Yeah, that's what I was thinking here. 48 out of 53. He was out there for all but 5 snaps.
Yeah.
That's not a gimmick. That's your tight end.
Yeah, that's I can't give away anything that I saw in practice today, and I saw some things in practice, and people are, of course, are going to be like, "Ooh, what happened?" I can't say.
Unless it's at fullback, I'm not all that interested.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's Darnell's going to be part of the but I don't think it's just going to be Darnell. It doesn't always have to be Darnell. It can also be the Spencer Anderson thing. You can continue to do the 6 offensive linemen. And even if it's not Darnell, if it is Jonnu or Connor or Pat that's helping chip Garrett, we're pretty much where if you have that tight end on the outside of Broderick, where if Garrett runs to the outside, like if he's trying to get around, then the tight end can literally just shove him back to the inside or chip him back to the inside and help Broderick, or it's just whatever it is. Like, it doesn't always have to be that guy, but would I go to the FanDuel Sportsbook right now and place a bet if they had something of there being at least one snap where Darnell Washington is lined up right next to Broderick Jones? Yeah, I'm probably going to place that bet.
Chad asks if the Steelers are getting anybody back. Mike asks if there's any news on rehab or availability of injured Steelers. Where could these gentlemen have found such information, Chris?
Right on our DK Pittsburgh Sports app in our Steelers feed.
And who would have been the reliable reporter sharing such information with them? That's right, pal. Go download it. Go download it. It's free. It doesn't bite. Yep. It doesn't like jump out of your phone and, give you cooties or whatever. And after you do that, email me so that you can get the good version of it, the one with no ads, the one where you can ask Chris questions anytime. Chris is over there reporting the stuff. We're not waiting for the shows to do this stuff. The shows are an augmentation, I guess, if you want to call it that. Mm-hmm. Email me, dk@dkpittsburghsports.com to get the app, the good version of the app, dk@dkpittsburghsports.com. Brent says, looking ahead, I hope we paid attention to the Bengals not covering tight ends. The Bengals, they hung in that game probably more impressively and longer than I thought that they would, given the many shortcomings that they have on both sides of the ball. But I'm sorry, that's not a really good football team with Burrow, let alone without him. There's not much there. If we're calling it like it is, and this isn't the Steelers saying this, so this isn't anybody jinxing anything. This isn't anybody getting complacent or overconfident. We don't play for the Steelers. We can say what we want. If they say this, it sounds really bad. But they need to win these 2 games. Let's just, I mean, that just is what it is. They need to emerge from this little stretch 5-1. The way the schedule has set up, a lot has benefited them to date.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Including the caliber of the schedule, the timing of the bye week, getting Ireland out of the way early, getting it out of the way with a W, and then coming back as fresh as you can be as healthy as you can be this time of year with your first 2 games inside the division, and they're against teams that aren't any good, at least not as collectives. Like Cleveland has a decent defense. Cincinnati has elite wide receivers, but no quarterback. There's all kinds of different ways of looking at it, but they're not as overall entities. They are not good, and they need to be taken care of. That's where this team needs to be. They need to be 5-1 heading into this tougher stretch. That's not, again, I'll say this one more time because I could sense this. Don't say things like that. Why are you saying that? It's because it's true. They do need to take care of these teams, and they should.
They do, and yes, they should. I mean, this is a Browns team that's going up against Dylan Gabriel, who is going to be making his second NFL start.
He showed flashes. I'm not gonna pretend he's something else.
We've been talking about the AFC North and how the 3 teams that played yesterday, all lost. They didn't look. I actually thought the Browns looked pretty formidable, almost maybe not formidable, but they hung in with the Vikings.
They didn't look formidable down that final drive. They didn't. They did not. But they held their own in that game. I think the one thing that Kevin Stefanski actually did, he made some mistakes. I think down the stretch for sure. I thought he got outcoached by Kevin O'Connell down the end, but I do think that he did the right thing in terms of kind of putting the training wheels on Dylan Gabriel. Didn't want him to stretch the field too much, didn't want him to make mistakes. And I would think that given Stefanski's experience coaching against the Steelers, that the training wheels might come off a little bit more. Now, the good thing is, and not saying that there's a whole bunch that Mike Tomlin and Taylor Lawson are going to learn, but you can pick Derek Harmon's brain a little bit, because he did go up against Dylan Gabriel in practice while playing at Oregon. And Derek Harmon today had a lot of good things to say about Dylan Gabriel. He said he's a really smart football player. He's going to do everything he can to maximize his strengths and minimize his weaknesses. And I thought the Browns actually did a pretty good job with that. I thought Quinshon Judkins is looking like everything that people thought he was going to be coming out of college. Their defense does look very good. I think their defense is going to give the Steelers a lot of problems, not just because of personnel, but because of the type of defense that they play. And Jim Schwartz has, in the past, done pretty well coaching against the Steelers. So I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to go. But there's still 2 football games you have to win. They just are, because you get to 5-1 right before you have to play the Packers and the Colts and the Chargers, and you start getting into a really tough stretch. You got to win the games that you got to win games like this if you have any chance of really winning the division. Yeah, we'll get to this stuff later in the week too, some of the specifics. But the other thing that Gabriel that shows you is that he's throwing from this hand, which is a very, very different look than what teams are used to facing. They see those guys and they see them on film, and all of a sudden those guys that are really comfortable knowing when to put their own hands up can be like, oh, geez, wait, no, he's over there. You know what I mean? David Leach says the Steelers need a WR2. I'll continue to say that. If they want any true shot in the playoffs, get it done. Omar Khan. There's been no trace of it. There's no indication that the Steelers are close on anything. Let's put it that way. I have no doubt that Omar's eyes are wide open when people say things like, when is he going to start looking? When is he going to start searching? Now, he's doing that all the time. My man is here.
How you doing?
What's going on? You have a world of these guys that are available. You have more teams that are going to be falling out of this and so forth. And now you have a real need, Then again, I say that, and what did Pat Freiermuth get in snaps? 16? What did Jonnu Smith get? 15? Something like that?
Here's the other thing, and I talked about this last week, man. Like, the Steelers are in 11 personnel a third of the time, which means they have 3 receivers or more, like maybe about 33 to 40% at max. I don't think they've, and actually now that I think about it, I can't think of a time they ever had 4 receivers on the field. And if they did, it's been a handful of times. It's not been very much. So the vast majority of the time, they have 2 receivers on the field because they're using tight ends like crazy because they are second in the league in 12 personnel. They're third in the league, or they're either way. They're amongst the league leaders in 12 and 13 personnel usage because they use tight ends the vast majority of the time. If you have only 2 receivers on the field, one of them is DK Metcalf for sure. And if you go out, you can go out and get one of those receivers. And yes, that gives you, I'm not saying that it's a bad move if you go and make it, but is it something that's really that you should be that desperate to make? Is it worth giving up a 2nd-round pick to get that guy? Like, I
see what you're saying. The counter that I have to this every time that it comes up, because and no one wants to talk about it, and I understand why no one wants to talk about it because it's a really ugly thing to think about. But that's if DK Metcalf goes down, then you have 0 wide receivers who can not do what he does, but even run the same routes, handle that same portion of the offense. Then you have nobody. And I'll keep going back to last year when George Pickens went down and you just looked around the offense and went, oh, because you had nobody who could do that stuff.
I get that. And I think that by the time the trade deadline approaches, we will either see the Steelers make a move or try their damnedest to make a move. I don't think they're going to make a move just to make a move. I don't think you're going to see another trade for a Mike Williams. I'll put it that way. Where I think in the moment we thought, okay, they're addressing this somehow. But then they get Mike Williams and he just didn't play very much. And why? Well, the dude just retired from football.
Yeah.
Like,
that'll do it.
Like this year, like it's very, very clear there are things going on off the field that just led to him not participating very much.
That's correct. Justin Watson says that the tight ends not named Washington can't get open. I don't see that, Justin. I have seen that Freiermuth has had some challenges in getting open and some in sync challenges with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know that Jonu's even been utilized other than these sideways things. And every once in a while, something real quick over the middle. And I think this goes back to the offensive line more than anything else. Your tight ends need time to get open. They're not Deontay Johnson. They're not going to be able to do, and then they're there. They're going to need time, and you're going to need the offense to adjust. Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers both to adjust to what it's like to have even a little bit more time, which they did. Not the adjustment, but the time came in Dublin. It wasn't spectacular, but there was some more there. So they don't necessarily have to run those panic routes or those panic releases the way that they did over there. And that'll get everybody open.
I think, the one thing that I think you're going to see this week is I think you're going to see a different offense this week, no matter what. Now, I'm not saying that the Steelers won't run the ball. I'm not saying the Steelers aren't going to try to use like the 6 offensive linemen or anything like that. But the Vikings are very, very too high. Like they lead the league in too high. Like they're trying to shell everything over the top and keep everything underneath, and that's great. That's not how the Browns play defense. Browns play a lot of man coverage, and they are right up there with the Steelers among league leaders in single high defense. They're going to pressure you. They're going to load the box, and that will give the opportunity for stretching the field. If they have a single high safety, shoot, man. Roman Wilson's fast. Scotty Miller's fast. DK Metcalf can catch the deep ball. Put some guys out wide, and every now and then when it's calculated, not just any other time because you don't want to run the Russell Wilson 2024 offense again. Try to take a shot every now and then. Do one out of play action. It can be done. I think that the Steelers are going to be forced to play a different type of offense this week because the Browns play defense much, much differently than the Vikings do.
Now, and the Browns are going to be that that classic Schwartz defense where they're coming at you and they're coming at you really hard up front. That has given the Steelers trouble in the recent past against Cleveland. And I don't know, man. I look at this offense and I think more than anything else, you have to find a way to keep blocking, and you have to find a way to make sure that these other guys get comfortable with that and start just doing things in sync. I really don't know that this is going to be defined by Cleveland as even as much as the last one was defined by Minnesota. I know the Steelers felt that way, that they were going at the Brian Flores defense and they were doing things that would neutralize what the Vikings wanted to do. And of course, that's going to come into play here, especially against a longtime nemesis like Schwartz. But you still have to block, and you still have to execute, and you still have to start getting the ball downfield. WR2 isn't the magic tonic there. That's not to say that I wouldn't take one. I think getting all of your tight ends to do what it is that they're supposed to do, all of them, is going to make a difference. In other words, if you can replace Spencer Anderson's spot on the field with a tight end who can handle the blocking responsibility, there's 19 more snaps for everybody right there. That's how many Spence got. All you have to do is do what Spence not. That's unfair. Okay, Spencer Anderson is a professional offensive lineman. You're running the ball to Spence's side. You're going to do. Spence will be the first one to tell you he's going to make space for that runner. Tight end might not tell you the same thing, but you got to be able to do some of it, or you're not going to be on the field. And I really felt like that was a subtle message in its own way from Arthur to those tight ends. This is what we need you to do. This thing that Spence is doing, and this thing that got Darnell out there for 91% of the game.
Yeah. So the explosive, I'm still seeing like a lot of people. It's focused on WR2, focus on explosive plays. I got something else, and I put this on our app over the weekend. I got something else that's just completely different. That's the biggest issue with the offense right now. They need to convert on third down. Their third down conversion rate is just ridiculously terrible. It's like 38%.
Chris, we're talking about the same thing here.
Yeah.
No. When we're talking about the tight ends, we're talking about the same thing. Why do you have Jonnu Smith? What did he have last year? You have to look this up.
I'll do it right now.
His percentage of his catches, I think he had 88 catches for the Dolphins last year. Off the top of my head, 53 of those were for first downs. Chris is going to confirm that, so I don't come across like I'm just making
55.
stuff up. 55. I was close. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's superhuman. That means not only is he converting these things, but the other team knows he's going to be the target.
Yep.
And you're not utilizing him. And you're not utilizing Pat. Pat's a first down guy. Pat's always been a first down guy. I know everybody's down on him right now, and I don't care. But these are first down weapons. No wonder you're not converting.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm heading into the weekend. The Steelers also had. So think. Okay, let's put this in this perspective here. The Steelers are terrible at third down conversions. They are currently 20th in the NFL at 38.6%. Their red zone percentage is 8th in the NFL at 69.2%. So they get into the red. 9 touchdowns in 13 trips to the red zone. That's a really, really good percentage. You're pretty much getting a touchdown when you go down there. The Steelers also have the second best starting field position in the NFL behind the Lions. So what's
I had no idea.
Own 34.
I guess that makes sense with all the takeaways. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like they're starting off on and having to go for long field, like having to go the length of the field every time. And like Chris Boswell, how many field goal attempts does he have? Like 3?
Yeah.
Like seriously, like they're not kicking field goals. So that means their drives are 3 and out, or they're scoring a touchdown. Like that has to, like, sustaining has to be the name of the game here. Converting on third downs is the first thing you need to do. I don't think a WR2 is the automatic fix to that. I do think that using what you have here, like you said, with Pat Freiermuth, with Jonnu Smith, with running the ball better. I'm telling you, if the Steelers laid the blueprint out for what they need to do when they played the Vikings, just get a little bit better at each one of those things. Aaron gets the ball out quick. He stays clean. You get the quick game going, and you can get explosives with those catch and run yak routes. You can run the ball, control the clock that way, and You play ridiculously good defense in which you're getting after the quarterback and you're forcing takeaways. That is the blueprint right there. You take the ball away. Yeah, you might give up some yards. Yeah, you might give up a drive or two in a game in which you're like, that was the hot butter through, or that was the hot knife through butter defense, not the steel curtain defense. But then the rest of the game, they're taking the ball away. They're sacking the quarterback. The other team's getting nothing and giving the ball to the offense to pretty much like TJ Watt, already in field goal range. Boom, right there. And then they go down and get points. Like, it's that type of game that the Steelers need to be playing. That's how they're built to play.
And they did it with some asterisks overseas. They need to apply it here. They need to be more balanced. There was something interesting that Pat said after the team came back from Ireland in that initial media session, because he did speak over in Dublin, but it was just to a group of Irish reporters, and it was all about, you know, the crowd and whatever else. And by the time he got done, I could tell he was in no mood. I just let him go. Pat, when he got back, said that there needed to be some kind of, he expects that there's going to be some kind of balance struck here between he said, we all knew going into the game against the Vikings that we, the tight ends, were going to be minimized. We knew that Darnell was going to be maximized. We were supporting Darnell. We were pulling for Darnell. Pat always says all the right stuff. Yeah. No, he does. He's gold at that.
Yeah.
Okay. But they also did. You could see they were stoked for Darnell whenever he was making plays out there, when he was making catches. He's part of their room. So he got the job done. Those guys believe that according to Pat, that they're going to be back in the mix in some capacity. You're not going to see a permanent 6-man offensive line. But when do you cross over? You know, when do you say, hey, let's try that tight end thing again? Is it against Cleveland? You know, I don't know. I mean, Cleveland's coming.
Yeah,
Cleveland's coming. I don't mean the franchise. They're not going anywhere. I'm talking about that defense that the Steelers are going to face this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, no, they've got to figure. You're right. They cannot play with 6 offensive linemen all season long. They just can't. You've got to find a way to run the ball when you have just your typical 5 offensive linemen with, 11 personnel, 12 personnel, whatever it is. Like, I get it. I understand it. And if it helps, then it helps. Great. You got to find a way to play when you're not doing that, because you do kind of handcuff what you're going to do. But at the same time, again, if defense is this to me, this game right here is going to be a really good test, because I don't think you're going to see two differing defenses like in terms of the way one defense plays versus the way another defense plays, more than Minnesota versus Cleveland. And we've seen the way the Steelers play against a Minnesota type defense, and now we're going to see it against like Cleveland, who again, it's very, very different. It's man coverage like crazy. It's single high. There's going to be loaded boxes. I'm very, very curious to see what Arthur Smith cooks up, because he cooked up something really good against Minnesota. It worked. I'm just curious to see how it's going to work against Cleveland.
Useless Knowledge says, don't sleep on that Browns offense, or the Browns in general. That offense didn't look too bad with no, they didn't. They didn't. I saw more to like about the Browns in that game than I saw to dislike. And I'm going to be honest here. I had the feeling when the Vikings got the ball back at the end, and I know this sort of thing tends to get exaggerated and whatever, but they were the team that was over there for 2 full weeks. And if anybody was going to be stronger at the finish of a 3-hour football game on the other side of the planet, it was going to be the team that had been over there and was totally accustomed, acclimated, and everything. That's kind of a lot of what that looked like. That's not to take credit away from Carson Wentz, who made a beautiful pass. Chris,
great throw.
The pass to Jordan Addison for the touchdown.
Great throw.
I mean, I give Addison credit. I mean, he's obviously got some flakiness issues off the field and so forth, and had them at Pitt too. And I give him credit for going back and but there was only one place that ball could go. Yeah. And this was why, even when we were talking about Wentz, when we were over there, I was saying this guy has been that guy over times of the year. I thought that Minnesota edged Cleveland because of the edge that they had, in part by being over there all that much. But then I say that, and it's the Browns who have to play a football game right after flying back.
Yeah, and I've seen some people bring it up. Like, do you think that's going to be an advantage for the Steelers? Yeah, but also at the same time, yeah, but I don't. I think that's going to be a little bit like. I don't think it's going to be as big of a deal as people think it's going to be.
Okay.
And the reason why, I'm not saying it's not going to be a factor. Sure, like you have to get back. I mean, I get it. I just made the trip myself. Like, I get it. And if anything, my trip was worse because they get a charter to go straight from London back to Cleveland. I had to go from Dublin to Reykjavik to Baltimore to Pittsburgh.
Where's that hanky?
I'm just saying, it's a lot easier to get used to things whenever you're going back in time than it is when you're going forward in time. I don't think it's going to be as – it will not – remember, when the Browns look at their schedule, what's the first thing that they're looking at when the Browns schedule comes out? When are we playing the Steelers? And
yeah, they're like that up there. It's a little uncomfortable, actually.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, man.
They want so bad for the Steelers to consider them the arch rivals again. They really do. And all you hear from here is like, nah, it's Baltimore. Sorry. You guys took a few years off. You moved over there. We never forgot who the real Browns were. They're still down there.
Yeah, the real Browns wear purple now.
That's right. But they're all terrible, and the Steelers need to start asserting themselves. And I think the best way for them to do that is some sort of I'm not going to use augmentation twice in the same episode. I already took heat for using it once. It's a continuation, really, and that's what there were so many good things that came from the Dublin game.
Yep.
I know there was a lot of people that still focus on that ending, and to me, the ending was just a fluky thing. The way the Vikings.
Yeah.
What's that?
They took the foot off the gas.
A little bit, but I mean, did they miscommunicate? 81-yard play.
They took the foot off the gas, and then also on top of that, they were, as Mike Tomlin said, and it was real. They were leaking in the secondary.
Yeah,
they were dealing with serious injuries or they were dealing with injuries, and it was causing serious issues on the back end, and that's the reason why they busted that coverage. So I think the game's a lot different if they don't lose Ramsey or Eccles in the fourth quarter.
Well, and I think that was the point that Tomlin was making, even over there.
Yeah,
about the leakage. It's that they had people out there who like Terrell Austin said, he said he'd eat that one because he was calling plays for guys who weren't on the field.
Yeah.
He was calling plays for a level of communication that, as Jason points out here, had to be excellent.
Yeah.
He's totally right. It had to be something special. And you just had too many guys out there who aren't normally out there. Let's take a couple more today so I can hit the road here for some hockey. John Matthews says, rookie quarterback versus the Steelers. I kind of lost that narrative when Dick LeBeau is gone.
Yeah.
LeBeau is the one who used to mess with the rookies. He used to do things that just tortured them before the ball was even snapped. LeBeau wanted them to understand where they were now. Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like, LeBeau was like, even whether it was symbolic or whatever, LeBeau wanted them to say, hey, son, this isn't Iowa State anymore or wherever you're from. This isn't the minor leagues. We're going to show you stuff you've never seen. And by the way, we're going to show it to you on the very first snap. You will suffer. And you will suffer before that snap. You will suffer after that snap. And you will suffer for all remaining snaps as long as you're healthy enough to remain in the game. That's not a thing anymore. It's just not. This is a good play. This is a good player, by the way, Dylan Gabriel. I already said this. I'm not knocking him.
No, and I think people are going to think differently of Dylan Gabriel once this game happens, because again, this is always the game that the Browns try to like really, really gear up for. They really, really gear up for playing the Steelers. It doesn't matter if it's the one in Pittsburgh or the one in Cleveland. They want to win this game. Dylan Gabriel is going to be introduced to this. I can guarantee you those players, especially players such as Myles Garrett, are going to be putting a lot of stuff on. Like, they're going to be getting him ready. Like, It's just different, man. Like every like matchup in the AFC North has its own like unique relationship almost. Like Steelers Ravens is it's a hated rivalry, but there's almost a level of like mutual respect there for the way that both organizations have been successful and everything like that. The Browns just want to beat the Steelers. That's just all they want to do. Yeah. They don't care about winning playoff games or winning the Super Bowl. They just want to beat the Steelers. They could go 2-15 every year, but as long as those 2 wins are against the Steelers, they're fine.
That applies to their main guys, the guys that have been there for a long time, the Myles Garretts and so forth. Yeah. They're the ones, and even I'm sure Kevin Stefanski knows that it curries favor with his bosses. If they can come into Pittsburgh and win a game here, that just has a little bit of an extra pull because they can go back over the long list of Cleveland coaches who could never do that. And they said, well, Stefanski at least can beat the Steelers. We know he can do that. It's a big deal for them. It's not as big a deal for the Steelers, and nor should it be. This should be a game that they need to take care of a divisional opponent.
Yep.
That they should be beating. Pensman says that Stefanski's going to be fired by week 10. No, he won't.
Nor should he.
Nor should he.
I don't think the problem with the Browns is Stefanski.
No,
I actually think Stefanski's probably the best coach they've had since the Browns have come back into the league.
Since they came back into the league, that is correct. And I don't know that it's particularly close.
No. He's a really good offensive mind. He has shown the ability to put trust in qualified defensive coordinators. I think that's always because every coach has their own, obviously they're either offensive minded or defensive minded. When you have the offensive minded guys, you're always wondering like, okay, do they let the defensive guy do his thing? And the really you can see it. Andy Reid, offensive coach, but he hires Steve Spagnuolo and he lets him do his thing on defense. And you see what that does. The Chiefs end up having really good defenses. They haven't won all these Super Bowls recently just because they have Patrick Mahomes. It's also because they've had really, really good defenses. Stefanski's done a pretty good job letting Jim Schwartz do his thing. I actually don't think the coaching staff is the problem. I think he's made some questionable decisions. Sure. I don't think he needs to be fired. I think their issues go above Stefanski and
actually from what because we're close enough geographically that our social media will pick up some of the algorithms. You know what I'm talking about? Like you get a little bit too much Brown stuff that shows up in your timeline in the For You section. And I don't pick up this sentiment that the Stefanski's, the target of the fans either.
I don't think he should be.
No, I mean they have to understand that. No one.
I also don't think Mike Tomlin should be for the Steelers either. But I digress. I mean, I think there are issues that go beyond Mike Tomlin. But
you never know how that goes.
At least the Steelers haven't bungled their quarterback situation the way the Browns have.
Yeah, same thing goes for the following opponent. Matthew Bunk says, "Do you think Zach Taylor's going to get fired this year?" How? The whole team is built around one player who isn't playing.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you judge him? How do you judge him at all? Never mind fairly. How do you say, wow, coach really needed to do a better job of pretending that Joe Burrow was playing?
Yeah, this is not James Franklin going into UCLA.
Did you see those passes? Who was the dude?
Jake Browning, yeah.
Do you see some of these balls he threw?
No,
I mean, the interceptions?
Oh, yeah.
Who looks at that and says, man, fire Zach Taylor?
No, seriously.
The one from the end zone that he threw right to the other team, and then he goes like this and he smacks his own helmet like this. And I'm thinking, dude, the only thing wrong with that is that you didn't smack yourself hard enough.
What's funny about that is that even if that linebacker wasn't in that zone, the safety undercut the route. That would have been picked off by two guys.
Either guy, right? The only person who had no chance at that ball was the Cincinnati receiver.
Yeah, I don't think no, Zach Taylor's not the problem in Cincinnati. Again, this goes the problem in Cleveland is that they bungled their quarterback situation so bad that they literally cannot get out of it until Deshaun Watson's contract is gone. The Bengals have bungled their situation so bad because they just completely ignore the defensive side of the ball. I get that you need to have an offense. I get you need to have a quarterback. But my God, again, I think they just think that Joe Burrow is so great that he's going to deliver a Super Bowl because he almost did. And
yes, he did.
but you still have to, again, I'll bring it up again. The Chiefs have not won the Super Bowls that they've had just because they have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. They also have a really, really, really great defense. Like, that's another reason why they've been winning. You still have to play defense.
You know, there's no way to end this episode that would be better than Dwight Jefferson rounding out our team by team body slam of all of the AFC North coaches by pointing out that John Harbaugh got booed soundly yesterday at M&T Bank Stadium. He's back in the doghouse. I just want to throw this out. I don't listen to play-by-play and color commentating when I'm watching sports. The reasons for that is I'm just in press boxes. We don't get any of that. So I feel weird having somebody tell me what I'm watching. So I turned. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, yesterday I had the Ravens. I had all the divisional games on as kind of background music.
Mm-hmm.
So the sound was up a little bit, and I think it was J.J. Watt and some other dude was doing
Eagle.
the.
Yeah.
Was it?
Iron Eagle and J.J. Watt. Yeah, they're really good, by the way.
I'll take your word for it.
It's a really good tandem.
All I know is that the way they and the director of this broadcast were painting this scene in Baltimore like it was a funeral. Oh, and these people are not used to this sort of thing here. Oh, and they're showing these crowd shots of these goofballs painted in purple feathers and stuff, and looking all sad in their seats. And they're panning to Lamar sitting on the sideline, and you're going, this is great. Like, it was some great TV. You know, it's like if I was a fan of the Houston Texans watching this broadcast, because they're getting the same feed in Houston, I would have been livid, because it was like the Texans didn't exist. It was all just about, woe are the Ravens, poor sad Baltimore's. Meanwhile, the Texans were doing everything right. They're in a position where they're bouncing back from a rough start of their own. C.J. Stroud looking confident. They had some big plays made by some good players. And it's just all like, oh, but Baltimore. Oh, no, Baltimore.
I get what they're doing, because
great TV, great stuff.
I get what they're doing because, listen, the NFL, the NFL actually does a way better job of this than I think just about any other league.
Everybody, yes.
Well, maybe the NBA is a little bit better at it, but pushing their stars, pushing the teams that have stars. The NHL needs to learn from this, by the way.
No, don't.
I'm
now
just saying.
Connor McDavid's staying at Edmonton for another year to make sure that never happens. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm just saying, like, it's clear that that the NFL would like, or I would say, like, that they're pushing buttons or anything. But when Lamar Jackson's sidelined and the Ravens are spiraling out of control, that's gonna.
Oh yeah, it's showing LeBron is looking sad on the Lakers bench. Is that who he plays for now?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, that's it. That's what it is. You're focusing on who the star is and how that goes. That's
what you should do. That's what leagues should do, honestly. And think about it. When the Steelers had Ben Roethlisberger, that's what the NFL should have done with the Steelers. Or when they did have Antonio Brown. I mean, how many Steelers games were nationally televised while they were, had the killer bees, while they had Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell? As somebody who lived in Texas, there were a lot of Steelers games on TV where I lived without having an NFL Sunday ticket. I mean, it was just,
and they know where the bread is buttered too. The Steelers are an international draw. It's not just about where the Nielsen markets are and what's the size of the Pittsburgh metro market. Don't forget that game in Dublin was the second most watched international game the NFL has ever had. And it was not based on some super attractive matchup. No. Okay, neither the Steelers nor the Vikings went into there soaring.
I can tell you right now, nobody's thinking like this is the rematch of Super Bowl IX. Like, no, like this is
nor the rematch of London or anything. It was just it was two pretty mediocre teams going in there, and one of them missing their quarterback. All those things that usually hurt ratings. Yeah, doesn't matter because the Steelers are involved. Doesn't matter because the Steelers are involved. All All right, guys, we're going to let you go here. Actually, let me go because I need to hit the road here. I'll be covering the Penguins and Rangers tomorrow night in New York at Madison Square Garden. Chris and I will hook up in the daytime. I'm going to do that from MSG's press area. It's a really drab setting. Sorry in advance.
I was about to say that's going to be exciting.
They've used the same press facility at Madison Square Garden since I don't know, time immemorial. Like they keep remodeling the entire structure, rebuilding the trains and all the buildings around it and the roof and everything else. And then it just all works around the same press room. It's like the only part that doesn't get touched, like the carpet, the walls, nothing. It's still the same as it was 70 years ago. Guys, we'll see. We'll hook up with you tomorrow. Oh, go get the app. Go do that. Go get the app and email me, DK@DKPittsburghSports.com, like right now.